Good evening, everyone. Welcome to today's session where we're going to talk about different ways to engage your staff in professional learning. I know for me, when I was first starting out as a teacher, I didn't necessarily love professional learning. It was a lot of the sit, listen, sit and get type stuff. And then they kind of just like expected you to remember what you learned after that session, even though like you had multiple different things going on in your mind. So feel free in the chat to let us know what your professional learning has been like. And has it been a good experience? Has it been bad? And so my goal was kind of to transform education and professional learning for teachers. And so I'm going to share some ways that I do that. Some are going to be quick, some are going to be more engaging and more maybe work. But I think it's going to be a great time to explore different ways to engage our staff, especially at the end of the year, so that we can start to kind of reflect and redefine what our professional learning might look like over the summer. I am a Google certified coach, and because of that, I really do believe coaching is probably the best way to have your student or your teachers learn any new information, because they have that supportive coach along the way. So I am a huge advocate for coaches, but this type of session, you'll see ideas for larger group settings. If you don't know me, my name is Stephanie Howe. I am an instructional technology coordinator, and then I also am the founder member of Gold EDU, and I'm also one of the founding leaders for Global GEG. So thanks for joining today, and let's go ahead and dig in. So idea number one is thin slides. Thin slides are a great way to get staff talking. I know sometimes in like large groups, staff have a really hard time talking. And so thin slides, if you don't know what they are, it is a blank slide. And for example, maybe you're coming back from 2021 or 2022 next school year, and you have the staff create their like one word for 2021. So they're going to think of this word that they're going to use for 2021. And they add one image, and then we like to add like an epic Google slide transition just because sometimes that's fun. And then they're going to put their names in those speaker notes, and they're not going to mess with everyone's slide. So all the staff are in the same slide deck. Everybody is adding their one image and their one word for 2021, and then their epic slide transition. And they have 5 minutes to share. So I might start this thin slide off at the beginning of a professional learning session. I might say to my staff, welcome back from 2021, or welcome back to August. They've had a whole summer to maybe reflect on how COVID and hybrid and virtual learning has affected their classroom and their style. And I might say, give me one word for something that you're excited about this school year. And they're going to write that word, and then they're going to add an image. They get 5 minutes to do that. You can see my timer down here is clicking, and it's going right away. And also, they have 5 seconds to share their one word. If it's like a huge staff member, I might just say like, find 5 people, share your one word, your one image with them. Maybe it's a vacation or something they did over the summer. Share your one word and one image. Great icebreaker for those staff meetings. So then they share their one word. And again, you could do it quick, and you could just go through slide by slide by slide by slide with that information, or you could just have them share with a group or on Flipgrid. So here's like the blank slide. And again, one word, one image. How was your summer vacation? One word, one image. What word do you want to use for this school year to motivate you? One word, one image. Mine might be like create, and then I might have like an image of something. Maybe like name those kids. Sometimes I know when we are looking at data, it can get hard when we're looking at all this different data and really focusing on like one student. What's one student you're going to focus on this school year? Maybe they name them and they kind of take them in. All right, the second idea is group brainstorms. This is another fun, edgy protocol. Whenever there is like a large group, I like to group the teachers into smaller groups. If they're in smaller groups, they're going to be talking. It's also really important to make your sessions interactive so that teachers are talking to one another and that they're growing in their learning together. Sometimes the best learning that can happen is the teacher down the hallway, and sometimes it's not the presenter. And so right here, I've got the group brainstorm. I might have student 5, or I might have all of student 1 kind of do their ideas here. So again, I might have like a list of all of the different students and all of their different ideas that they have when it comes to maybe it's classroom management. And I might just say, okay, you've got 2 minutes, throw all your ideas on this Google slide. Or maybe I'm having people use Post-it notes and they're writing down all their ideas that they have for classroom management. Maybe I'm talking about differentiation and I want every single teacher to list all the different ideas that they have for differentiation in their classroom. Maybe it's organization. How do you organize your Google Drive? Maybe some teachers use stars, some teachers use colors, some teachers use emojis, and then they're having these conversations and they're going, oh my gosh, student 5 right there, or whatever the name is using stars. I want to know more about that. What do you mean by stars? How are you organizing your documents that way? And the conversations just grow and grow to be larger. Here's just another idea. This one's really fun if you want them to just like quick brain dump. So I would probably do like 30 seconds for each box. And so how this would work is like, we might say classroom management. They throw 1 idea, 2 ideas, 3 ideas, 4 ideas, 5 ideas. And then maybe they talk with their group. They could either do it silently and comment to each other in the Google slide deck if I'm doing it that way, or they could have a discussion with their table and talking about, oh, I really liked what you did for idea 1. What did you think for idea 3 and that kind of stuff? Or, hey, can you show me more of your template of your checklist that you used for this student? Or what are you doing? So that can allow your teachers to really grow into what they're learning about. This is also great for like maybe a prior knowledge. Like, what do you know about this topic that we're going to learn about today? What do you know about Flipgrid? How could you use Flipgrid in your classroom? And the teachers could quickly go idea 1, idea 2, idea 3, idea 4. And again, you're going to time this. It's like 30 seconds each box. And it's just a quick think of how they could use this in their classroom. And here is just another example. So see how student 1 has theirs, student 2, student 3, student 4. And I'll share all these slides at the end if it's not already in the YouTube description. I do not think it is. I will share all the slides at the end in the chat. All right, so next we have Iron Chef. Again, another edgy protocol because I'm a huge fan. And with Iron Chef, this can be a really, really great idea for your teachers to kind of be engaged in their learning. Iron Chef is more for them to explore their learning in different ways. And yes, I agree. Sometimes the best learning, I totally agree, Danielle. Sometimes that best learning comes from side conversations at PD. One time, like I was at ISTE and like I learned so much from the person sitting next to me than like the presenter. Not that the presenter was doing anything wrong. It was just the conversation that was happening between me and the other person was more relevant to what I needed in my district. So I love that. It's so true. Sometimes we have to let go of, they have to learn everything from that presenter. And sometimes it is that teacher that's sitting across from them. Okay, back to Iron Chef. So Iron Chef is a fun way to kind of have your teachers explore. These can also be used in the classroom. So I want to pause real quick because that is a really good point. Right here, thin slides. You can use that in your classroom. Students create 1 slide and 1 picture. I love to show teachers strategies during professional learning so that they can actually use these in their classroom. Sometimes we get up there and we're talking about blended learning, but our PD isn't set up in a blended learning way. Well, how are teachers going to redo that model if they don't see it being modeled? So sometimes I think it's really good to provide strategies right into your slides and your presentations for your teachers so that they can use those right with their students. It's like killing two birds with one stone. God bless me. All right, group brainstorm as well. Kids can do this. They don't need a teacher. I don't need to tell a teacher what this is. Actually make the teachers do this so that they can become really good at using the group brainstorm with their students, and that they know what is the expectation. They know how to kind of set it up. They've done it as a student so that they're able to look at their students and go, oh, I know what questions or misconceptions you're going to have. And I know I need to set that timer because if I don't, you're not going to listen to the conversation as well. Okay, back to Iron Chef. So Iron Chef is a great way to kind of engage, again, your teachers. They're able to explore. And so right here, we had a BLT meeting, and BLT in our district means Building Leadership Team. And so what they did is they worked with their leadership team, which was about 5 to 8 members, which is a pretty big group. If I was doing this with students, I would have done 4, but since they're adults, I was okay, I know they're going to all probably work. And if they don't, then they can kind of collaborate together. This is also timed. So they had 15 minutes, and this was at the end of our training. So we were talking about what are the responsibilities of a building leadership team. So they knew all this information throughout the training. And what we wanted to do was model this EDU protocol, but we also wanted them to be able to explain what they were learning with an exit ticket type of activity. So on here, they get a prompt. And then at the bottom, it says secret ingredient. They have to work as a whole group on this slide. So this slide, every single learner in their group had to work on it. It was not just one part of their group working on it. It was the whole team coming up with what is our responsibility. So that way they could collaborate together to create an answer. They also had to add an image. So that was one slide. Here is one where they had to say, how do you have crucial conversations with teachers? So how, as a leader and your building, how do you have those crucial conversations with teachers that might say, oh, this kid can't do it? How do you start that conversation? And we also wanted them to provide an example of either one they've already had, or just provide an example of what is going on. So we were able to kind of encourage our teachers to look at these different crucial conversations and explain an example, add an image, and then explain what was happening. Again, they were having these side conversations with each other, and they were thinking and reflecting on the session that kind of went over this. This session was in a style of blended learning. So this was one station, then they rotated to the crucial conversation station. And then they were coming all back together to kind of reflect on what they learned and what their next steps were going to be. And then they had to work together, and they had to share strategies to support a wide range of students. And then they had to encourage teachers to also try those in their classroom. So they had to think about okay, how am I going to get this teacher to try this idea with their students? And they really had to think about, how was I going to encourage this teacher to try it? Am I going to invite her in to observe me? Am I going to offer maybe some lesson prompts or some templates for them to set up for their classroom? Am I going to share an example? How am I going to organize all these different ideas to encourage another adult to maybe use something in their classroom? And then they had to put an image, and then they also had to include a GIF in their presentation. And then this last one, there was no secret ingredient. They could make up their own secret ingredient, or they didn't have to put one. But it just was what makes a team successful. And so then they listed different qualities that made teams successful. So it was a really impactful training just because they had all of these different components and they were working together. They had those side conversations, and they were able to just like reflect on the whole training in a quick 15-minute activity, and then take that back to their buildings because they were able to kind of like wrap it up. And then we just talked about like, what does building capacity mean for education? How do you build capacity? What does that even mean? How do you help train the other teacher that might be struggling with this type of concept or something like that? So it was super important to add all of these different things. And we also had like, what was the characteristics of effective teamwork in schools? And they had to use just noun icons or noun project icons, which was really cool to see all their different icons come together. And again, I would not use all these slides with kids. The reason these slides are super long is because this team was about like 8 to 10 members. And so I wanted every single person to work together and get the information that they needed. And then I just put, why is there a TBT? Why is there a teacher-based team? Why is that so important for a school to have? And then again, they added their own special ingredients in their slide. After that session, they had to take their TBT or this information and present it to the group. There was 5 total buildings at this training, and they had to go around and share the different information with each other. And they had to present like 4 slides, I think is what I told them. And like other schools were stealing ideas because they were like, oh my gosh, like building capacity, that's a great way to do that. And that building said that this is how they're going to do it. So they were able to listen, get ideas, and kind of collaborate as well in that form. Okay, number 4 is on a scale. So on a scale is just really fun, another fun activity for your students to do and also staff. I used on a scale pretty much throughout COVID. I learned this strategy in a global GEG staff room. And so with on a scale, I have my son AJ here. Feel free to let us know which AJ you are today. I created this on a scale for my staff, but I used other ones that were found on the internet. And with on a scale, there are so many different examples that I've done in another session. So if you go over to YouTube and you go over to Gold EDU, and you go down to this one, and then playlist. I just did a session on Go for the Gold. It is this one right here, social emotional check-ins. And if you view this, you will have some resources on this Wakelet with other on the scales. There's so many different resources that was shared during this video. So you can go in and you're able to kind of check out more information about like social emotional check-ins and that kind of stuff. And also don't forget to subscribe because why not? And you can get updated to all this amazing information. But on here, you can see like on a scale, and there's so many of them. And again, on this Wakelet, you can get all the different resources to this link. And so anyways, on this scale, it just helped me relate to my teachers, because if a teacher said they were number 1, I'm like, oh my gosh, they're hungry. They're not going to listen to me during this training because they're starving. So maybe I need to allow them to take a quick break, or maybe I need to like have lunch, go a little bit earlier and come back after lunch. Maybe they're number 9 and they feel trapped in a box, or maybe they're, trying to think outside the box, that kind of stuff. Or maybe they are number 6 and they're exhausted. So I just have to kind of keep that in mind, because we can't teach adults, staff, students if there's something going on in their life. Like number 2, AJ was really upset. And so if a staff tells me they're at a level 2 AJ, I'm like, oh my gosh, what can I do? I need to probably ask them like, are you okay? Like, what do you need? What's going on? Rather than focusing on the content. And so I try to use on a scale just to quickly get a glance at how is my students doing or my staff doing in this training? What do I need to do to help them better learn in this session? Or do I need to say, hey, let's deal with this issue first and then deal with the learning next? So sometimes that is the case. So again, on the scales can just be a real quick, fun activity for you and your staff to do. And it also can provide a really good resource for you to know. And on some of these on the Google Forms, There's places where they can add like additional information. Like this one's a pear deck with rubber duckies. And then there's a place for them that they can explain why they picked that number, and really just explain like what's going on. And is there any way I can support you? I think sometimes we need to ask our staff that, like, how can I support you today? Like, what do you need? Or maybe something like that. And maybe it's just like, I need you to step in here for 5 minutes so I can take a phone call to deal with this issue that's going on in my house. So just taking that and just remembering that social emotional does take a huge effect in our learning. Flipped PD. So I have a principal and she does this thing called flipped PD. And so what she does is in August, her PD is videotaped. And so you can kind of see here on the computer screen that she has everybody meet in the main room and she does a quick morning meeting. So a quick, hey, everybody, welcome back. This is kind of the expectation for the day. And then they start some groups start in the music room and they're reviewing like the flipped PD. And it's like usually a pear deck and also a video kind of embedded. And that is due by Friday. So they have multiple days to get through this PD that has been flipped for them. They also have to like review expectations and procedures for the year, PD procedures, safety, that kind of stuff. That is all done in person. So the staff is watching like the announcements that might need to be made, maybe like, here's the master schedule. So you understand the different schedules. Here's when lunch is happening. This is when this is happening. But what is happening in person is more of those safeties, those PD procedures, more of the procedure type stuff. And then it's like a quick, hey, did you have any questions about the flip PD or anything like that, is when they're meeting in person. So again, can be really nice for your teachers so that they know like what is expected and what do I need to do. And then they're going to meet with the counselor and the counselor is just going to tell them like counseling services that are available, what you have to do with mandated reporting, service learning, 504s. And then you're going to, meet with the media center and find out what's new this year. We went with maker spaces this year that this PD came out. So teachers needed to know that. And so they needed to see all the different supplies that our media centers now had. And then the last one you can just see here, it says like none. And they had to create, like their school is Harmon Heroes. So I'm wearing their shirt actually today. And it's amazing what the school has done. So they had to create a hero name, and then they had to create like a hero decoration for their door. So all of this was like flipped. And the teachers, again, they went through blended learning type stations. They had some work that they had to do on their own. And then they were able to ask questions with the principal because there was time to do that. So I know like, hey, you're going through this lesson on whatever days, but it's due by this date. And then you can ask us questions. So it was a great model for teachers. It kept them engaged. And then they were able to go through the video and pear deck on their own time. Some teachers did it at night because they wanted to use the daytime to get ready for their classroom. Because we always know when teachers come into the school, their number one concern is, how am I going to set up my classroom? They're not thinking about whatever's happening in PD. And so some teachers were like, I'm going to watch that PD when I'm at home. I'm going to do that pear deck when I'm at home, because when I'm at school and the school building's open, I want to be able to get stuff done. So just a great idea for a lot of PD that you need to get done quickly. Like this PD, we had 3 days to do. So you can see like the staff was able to kind of do that. All right, there's also self-paced PD. So self-paced PD, we used this when we went remote last March. And so teachers had a choice board, and you can really see all these different ideas. So like get to inbox 0 was like one of the choices that teachers could do. Do pear deck, watch a webinar, have an unconference, all this kind of stuff they could do. And they had to get so many checks off their box, even like listening to a podcast. I think sometimes we forget that learning can happen in any type of environment. And we're so used to like, everybody come down to the library to this session on whatever, and it's whole group. This person's just talking the whole time, direct instruction. But learning can really happen anywhere. I mean, just look at you guys joining this YouTube video. You're learning, and you're able to learn through video. You don't need to come to the media center and listen to me preach and that kind of stuff. You're able to pause me. You're able to take one idea and then come back and watch the other ideas. You're able to speed me up if you want me to speak faster. You're able to slow me down if you want me to go slower. You can turn on closed captions. All of those different things are available during this session for you. And right here, like, you can just tell, like, maybe they attended a webinar, maybe they did this. So there's all these different ideas on all they had to do. They had to check in, and then they had to check out, just to let us know which 5 they picked, because we do need to have evidence for our Board of Education to say, this is what we're doing during these PD days, and this is what we're doing, like, to our community. When your kids aren't at school, this is all the things that teachers did. So just lots of different ideas there. This one right here was like the staff could pick and take notes if they wanted to. So this just allowed them to take notes of their choice board and it was just optional. Yeah, you can see all this. I will share all the links right after the session has ended. And then right here, this one is the grid method. So the grid method is a leveled choice board. And if you're interested in the grid method, I did a session on this on Global GEG. And this is more focused for students. So if you want to know more, I'm going to just throw that link into the chat. It was a really fun session. And if you just want to see more of what the grid method is, because it's like an hour-long in-depth session. So feel free to view this video. But let's go back to this. So right here, it's done by levels. And so level 1, and it's by DOK. So level 1 is recall, level 2, level 3, and level 4. And it's all based on that DOK knowledge. So like level 2 is apply and demonstrate. So what the teachers did is they came in and they had to review, I'm going to go ahead and try to open this up. They had to review the procedures. And so by procedures this was this year's choice board. And so what I mean by procedures is our teachers had to decide, how am I going to lay out the standard operating procedures for my students when they come in as a hybrid model? How do I need to clean my room? How do I need to think about sharing objects? What do I need to do to create that 6 space rule and all of those different things? So lots of different things were happening to teachers this year. Also thinking about, how do I want my students to react at home when they have a question? Do I want them to email me? Do I want them to ask me later? What do I want? What's the expectation? So using this grid method allowed them time to process it. It was kind of flipped because they were going at their own pace, and they were able to stop and ask questions. And you can see right here, like where it says need help, teachers were able to ask us for help, and they knew how to ask us for help because we made like a slide deck. We had our information all in it, and they were able to click like, oh, I need Stephanie. And then it had all my information. So I just said, like, if you want to Google message me, like email me first, and then we can meet. If you need to call me, they could call me. All of that different kinds of thing. And then you could see here, like everybody just kind of had like their place. And I loved like what some of our coaches did, like they put the location of where they were going to be. I didn't, because I'm in multiple buildings. So I'm just like, wherever there was issues is where I went. However, these coaches are content specific. So like he teaches math. Or he's the math coach. So then he was able to say, I'm going to be at these buildings at these times. So our teachers always knew where we were if they needed help. Also, they had to start again at level 1. So they had like all these different lessons that they had to go through in order to master it. And then after each level, they had to check in with us. There was a formative check to make sure that they were ready to move on. So they were accountable for their learning. And so you can see here, did you complete? Yes, no. And like, it was just a real quick check-in, but then we were able to follow up and say, okay, we saw that you did not. Like, what do you need more support with? Yeah, I love this. Knowing there is support always like just encourages teachers to engage. And we don't want to struggle. So just knowing that there's help really does help teachers focus in on what is expected. And then over here, level 2, they had to start to apply. So they had to develop SOPs, and there was a checklist that kind of walked them through, like thinking about what happens when a kid finishes early. Like what do they do? What happens if a kid needs to go to the office, nurse, or media center? Before they could just get a pass, but this year with COVID, they had to be assisted by an adult to walk down to the office just because of all the safety procedures. So again, just being aware of like all these different changes our teachers had to think about. And I think we're going to have to probably do it again. Like what do you want now that kids are back full time? What's your new expectations? They had to create a class syllabus for their parents and their students so that they kind of knew. And there was like 2 different templates that our staff could use. They also had to meet with TBT teams to make sure that they had a common syllabus, because our parents talk. And so if one parent has one teacher and another has the other, and they're like, well, that's not the expectation out of this curriculum. They all should be on the same page. So we had them meet as a TBT, and they had to look over their syllabus. And we created like, these are must-have things for your syllabus. So you can see here, like these were all things that you had to have with your team, and you had to talk about it. And this was like personalized. So like your bio and all that kind of office hours, this should all customize for your classroom. But these ones are a must-have. Okay. And then next they had to set up their Google Classroom, and we created like best practices, like using Google Classroom kind of tips and tricks, because a lot of our teachers were used to Google Classroom. However, they weren't used to it being a place that kids were always going to go when they were home at virtual. And so we had to talk about some best practices for this. And so Abin and I did a session called Okay, Google, Organize My Classroom. And we just created different slides to go over different tips that they needed to do to become really good at using Google Classroom. And these slides were created by Amanda Sandoval, who is an amazing person. And we just kind of customized her slides for our district. And so teachers just had to go through this and go, okay, I get that I need to organize it by date. And then we kind of, if they had questions about why, we just kind of went over like, this is why you want to do that, because when your kids are searching for something on those virtual days, do you want a ton of emails asking like, where is it? We talked about using screencasts in your Google Classroom and how to do it. So very hands-on, personalized. Again, like if I know how to use Google Meet, I can go on to tip 7, and maybe I don't know about using emojis. So pretty personalized for them to do. And then again, there was a formative check. And then if they finished, there was like some extra activities if they were waiting for some team members to finish, because once they got to level 3, it was a lot of collaborative work that they had to do with their team. So we had them kind of do some other activities with their staff. You can see here, we used the True Colors survey. Stephanie Rothstein does a session on can we talk? And with that session, it's really, really good. And and what you do is you take a personality survey. And so we were concerned that our teachers wouldn't be able to build relationships quickly with their students just because of the amount of like days that they were seeing their students. And so what they had to do is they had to watch the video, and then they had to create this survey for their students. And then they had to get to know their students. So we kind of talked about like what this looked like. We wanted to know everyone's colors. So we were able to see like what color everyone fell in, what their personality. And it was just really fun to hear all the teachers like, oh, I'm orange, you know, like, oh, I'm a gold. And so like they were arguing about their colors in a fun manner. There we go. So you can just kind of see real quick, we had them take a picture and then let us know like what color they fell into. And then you could like just see like these three are kind of outcasts of our others. So then they were like just joking with each other. So it's just a really fun time to hear those conversations with their staff. Yeah, if you're waiting to hear, email Luis because he can fix that. If you have done it in a while, the Google form might be acting up. And then they had to do like some final projects up here, which was talking about building effective TBTs and what that looked like. And all of that kind of stuff. So again, really fun activities, and it was self-paced. So our teachers were moving along. And again, some of these were individual, but by some points, they did have to meet with their teams to collaborate on these different ideas. Oops. Oh, let me go back to this one. Okay. Oh, wrong link. All right, appointment slots. So again, I really do believe that teachers learn best in a smaller group. And so if you're able to meet with smaller groups of teachers, they will have more questions. They will be open to learning a little bit more. They won't be hidden by the crowd. And so make sure you do meet with your groups of teachers. And so you can do that by setting up appointment slots. So you can see here, there's office hours, and then the teachers just click and they can sign up to create an appointment slot. If you've never done it, if you go to Google Calendar, it's pretty simple to do. You can just click right here. Oh. All right, so I've got 9:30 to 10:45, and I want to set up appointment slots, and I just want to call this meetup. I want it to be 30 minutes, and I'm going to save it. And now when I click this link, my staff can go here and they can sign up for an appointment slot. And so I might have one teacher be the lead teacher to sign up, and then they can invite other staff to the appointment. And that's kind of how we run our meetings. I can add Google Meet if I can't be there in person. But again, having those smaller groups when they can pick when they can meet made it really easy for me to provide PD, because it was when they chose, when they were available, and when they were kind of ready for that next step. So again, just appointment slots can be a great help for you when creating that. The next one is design thinking. So sometimes when we create PD, we don't always think about what is the problem. Sometimes we're coming at it with a solution. And sometimes we should come at it with what is the problem so that our staff members can really start to think and transform their learning, and they are a part of the conversation. It's not just say, you're doing this because I said so. So making sure that you're able to do that can be really help. Yeah, appointment slots are great for students or even parents. Yes, so true. So we have right here Solve in Time. So Dee Lanier is one of my favorite people. He created Solve in Time. He's a Google innovator, and he just all around amazing. And so he worked with Slides Mania, and they created this amazing template. And so sometimes with a meeting, I might have a problem. And one of the best PDs I have ever gone to in my entire career is the Google Innovator Program. The Google Innovator Program is the best PD I have ever received. Like, hands down, it's the best. Like, I don't think anything could beat it. And so what we did was we focused on a lot of design thinking. And it was 3 days long, and it was intense design thinking. So I had to go with a problem. And my problem was that students with disabilities were not receiving instruction at a higher DOK level. They were staying at that recall level. And so that was my problem. I did not go with a solution. And if you listen to a lot of innovators, if you put in a problem on your application, you will not get accepted. So you need to just say what your problem is, because if you had a solution, why do you need the academy? So I got to the academy, and on those 3 days, we had to brainstorm and problem solve using design thinking about a solution for my project. And it was honestly the best PD ever. I was able to get feedback from my peers. I was able to talk with people. I was able to really reflect and think. And so what I like to do is, instead of those 3 days, I like to take Dee's idea and use this in professional learning. So what Dee does is he goes, what is a problem that affects you? That goes in this red box right here. So maybe, for example, I am having a lot of behavior issues. My students, they came back full time after COVID, and they won't stop talking. They talk out of place. They won't listen. That's my problem. What is causing this problem? Well, they were fine during hybrid when it was half the class. So now some of their friends are back. There's some issues with cohort A versus cohort B and all of this different stuff. Also, these are timed. So this is like 2 minutes, 2 minutes, 2 minutes, 2 minutes. And then this last one right here is about 10 minutes. All right. How do you feel about the problem? It makes me angry. I'm exhausted. And I am just I'm just so tired. This is also really good for a coaching session. What's the problem? What's causing it? How do you feel? It's asking those different questions to get down to what is actually happening. Okay, the yellow box. Who are some of the people that could help you solve this problem? Maybe my principal, maybe my coach. Yeah. And then how do you solve it? So then when you solve it, you might create a story, you might create a video, you might create a poem. You get creative with it. And so I think to solve this problem, I probably need to keep my students a little busy and engaged. So maybe it's the end of the year, we've got 20 some days left. Maybe I have them create a project using WeVideo where they're retelling a story that we're working on. Or maybe we read a crime scene and I have my students create a crime board, keeping them busy and active. That's how I'm going to solve that problem. And I'm going to see if it works. So then you come back and then you do the board again if you needed to. But again, this could be a great PD. This takes 30 minutes. You could make it longer if you wanted to, but I've done it and it's 30 minutes is what you can do it in. And again, you could allow them to maybe interview more people, research more things. Maybe you have articles already printed out for them and they're reading it and taking some of those ideas. And maybe you can even change some of these questions. So these don't have to be the questions that are laid out. You can kind of switch them up if you need to. So you're able to go in and kind of decide what do I want this to look like? What questions do I need to ask? Maybe it's not who. Maybe it's what resources can help you solve it. Maybe it is not how you feel about the problem. Maybe it's something else. And so you could kind of use this to kind of create your PD and keep your staff moving. Icebreakers. So I'm so glad Danielle's here. So Danielle is amazing. I love her so much. And she co-presented with me. I'm hoping she co-presents with me soon. We need an idea of what we can present on, so let us know. We did a session on icebreakers on Global GEG. And so with this training, we hated icebreakers, hated them. And so we were thinking about what icebreakers have we not hated? And we actually enjoyed, and they were kind of refreshing for us. So we went in and we kind of created this slide deck and we talked about different icebreakers. So make sure you go over to Global GEG, check out this session. Again, it's an hour long. I think, it's 59. Okay, it's 59 minutes and 32 seconds. So it's not an hour long. But it just talks about really fun ideas in this different training about just how to get people active, give them a break. If it's a 2-hour session, give them a break in between. So great ideas that you can use with your students and also your staff just to break up that PD time if you need to. And then number 10, we finally made it to number 10, the Unconference. So Unconference, I don't know if everyone has heard about it. And the Unconference is a conference without an agenda. So you go to this conference and the people there create this agenda. And so we took this model and we did it with our staff. And it was actually really cool the way that we set it up. So there is a Google Drive document, Google Doc document that the staff got. And what they did is this was blank. They went in and filled in what they needed. There were some mandatory sessions. So you can see like right here, this one's mandatory, but they only had to pick one. So they could either go to session 1 or session 2. But you can see like right here, 5th and 6th grade writing collaboration. They could pick that. They could go here. There's so many different topics that they were able to choose from for their Unconference. I'm trying to see if I can find the full link. Yep, right here. And some of these links, when you get the resource, are in the speaker notes. So make sure you do check there. And you can just kind of see teachers went in and these sessions were empty because nobody like signed up for it. But here they're planning a unit. We've got right here signposts. We've got teachers working on Civil War learning grid. We've got Alex training. We have all of these different things that our teachers wanted help with or collaboration with. And they went into this document and they just added it. There are room numbers because we did this before COVID. And so what happened is teachers saw the room numbers and then they went to that session and then there was session notes. So all we asked them to do was, could you just recap what happened during your session? Because if somebody was absent or maybe they had 2 other sessions that wanted to be before that session, they were able to go back and look at that information. So there was who went, what was discussed, and then what were 3 takeaways. And then they had to fill out an exit ticket. Every single teacher had to do the exit ticket just because, again, we need record that they were at the PD. And since we're giving more freedom during these PDs, we had to make sure that there was a way to record that professional learning that they were there. So you can just kind of see real quick. It's just email, name. Oh, I did not want to do that. And then on the next part of it, it's just what session did you attend? What were your 3 takeaways? Thinking about your takeaways, how will you continue to work? And then would you like follow up from a coach or your instructional technology coordinator? And again, this repeated for section 2. So they had to fill this out for both sessions. And then we were able to go in as a coach and go, oh my gosh, this teacher needs follow up on this activity because it was talked about, but they maybe want me to co-teach with them about this grid or whatever they're working on. So I was able to go in and really quickly highlight like who was yes. I actually did conditional formatting to quickly go in and say, okay, I'm going to go work with this teacher. I'm going to go work with this teacher. This teacher needs this. And I was able to really quickly go in and give follow-up and send emails right away. Or, hey, I need follow-up, but this is all I need. So they were able to kind of communicate with us. And again, you can just kind of see all of these different sessions. Yeah, feel free to steal. Okay, so now it's your turn to share. So we have a Google form here, and I'm going to throw it into the chat. On this Google form, I would like you to share a way you engage your staff during a professional learning. So engaging, what's the resource? What's your description? What's your URL? What's your Twitter? So that we can give you some credit. And if we have questions, we can follow up with you. If anybody that's looking at the results has questions, they're able to look. So I am now going to share the slide deck in the chat. And I'll also add it to the YouTube description. And that way you can go back and review any of this material. However, there is one that I wanted to share that somebody already put into the Google form. And it's on the YouTube description. Maybe not. It says an error occurred. Might have to do that later. Might have to do that after I end the session so that way I don't cause issues. But But on slide 37, if you click the results, it will take you to the spreadsheet where you're able to review all of the amazing things that were shared with us during the session. And it looks like the YouTube link is there now. It might be there multiple times. But again, feel free to explore any of these different links. You can customize for your students or your teachers or whatever you're providing learning to. Feel free to do that. All I ask is just let us know on Gold EDU. Just tag us on all your amazing ideas. I love seeing that. It makes me smile. Okay, so let's look at what we have here. And again, keep adding to this because we only have 2. So right here, I give my teachers a set of personalized GIF icons, and they research a milestone in their coaching career or coaching cycles and add them each time they reach a new milestone. So again, just a really fun idea to use GIFs and icons with your teachers. Becky and Stephanie Rothstein are amazing, and they did a session on modeling expectations and engagement. And there are some really, really good ideas in this slide deck. So make sure you do check all of these amazing ideas out. Like they have Amanda Sandervold's breakout rooms. They have quarantine show and tell. They've got introduction to name edition and would you rathers. What do you mean? Oh, Kim Vogie's in here. We love Kim Vogie. And I know she was watching. Yep, there she is. I just shared the link, Kim, but I love you, Kim. So Kim's in here. You can also see different like TED Talks that are in here. So lots and lots of resources from Stephanie and Becky that they created or they left in here. And so just so thankful for them for sharing this resource. And they are amazing. So again, just another place for you to get ideas. They also did this session on global GEG. So if you go to YouTube and search global GEG, I want to say they called it, I think it was just engaging strategies or something. Modeling quality engagement expectations is what I believe it was called on global. If you're having a hard time finding it, just email me or send me a DM on Twitter and I will send you the direct link. Okay, guys. Well, that was a lot. And just keep adding to, oh, here we go. We got so many more. I love this. Keep adding to this list if you think of more and feel free to use and ask these people questions if you have more questions about what they do. Oh, yeah, I posted Would You Rather on a Jamboard. I love that, Lisa. And they use a sticky note with an explanation. Oh, that's so much fun. Kim Vogie does personalized PD. Teachers choose a book from 25 titles. Oh, and they have some face-to-face PD, asynchronous, and it's all on 3 signature practices, ISTE and UDL. Oh, yes. And Kim she's coming up with some ideas with UDL and Edu protocols. So, and she has a link, of course, and all of her stuff is amazing. Oh, this looks fun. I'm going to have to explore this. UDL is always a really good one. 10 basic assignments and tons of extra optionals. Oh, domain restricted, not my fault. Be prepared to share and meet. Okay. So yeah, keep sharing. This is all really, oh yes, things that rock on Desmos. Oh, that sounds really fun. I would love to see that example in this form. If you have that, Andrea, that would be amazing because I have a lot of teachers that haven't used Desmos yet. So maybe using a things that rock might work. You just got my brain kind of thinking. So if you have that example, I would love to see it. Okay, guys, that was a lot. Keep sharing, keep going back to the form. Feel free to look at the Google Slides, steal any resources, ideas. And thank you so much for coming. So if you don't mind, please make sure you fill out that Google form for feedback. I'm going to throw that link into the chat. And on the feedback form, you will get a certificate of attendance once you fill it out. So feel free to do it. It should be pretty quick. And if you need, yes, I will reshare the slides too. They should be in the YouTube description if someone can confirm that. But I will share them as well. Let me go to share. Here are the slides going in the chat. And I will also post the link to this Google Sheet. because there are some really good ideas coming in. And I am also, if you don't know this trick, I'm going to show you a quick trick. If you go to Tools, Notification Rules, I want to know when there are changes made to this so I can steal some ideas. Okay, so I've got my notifications turned on for that Google form as new ideas come in so I don't miss any of these amazing different links that are used. And I can ask these people on Twitter if I have follow-up questions. All right, guys, thank you so much for joining today. Make sure you check out goldedu.org for upcoming sessions or subscribe to the YouTube channel. Also, you can find us on Twitter at goldedullc, and make sure you tag us with any fun PD lessons you do. We would love, love, love to see them. All right, guys, thanks for coming. Thank you so much for joining us during this Gold EDU professional learning session. Make sure you check out our website at goldedu.org, where you can find out more information about us and how to follow us on all these different social media platforms. You can come and see upcoming events, and you can also book a session for your school, district, or a coaching session. You can also get Gold EDU swag if you want to show off your goldness. Also, make sure you fill out the feedback form at bit.ly, G, Gold, EDU, feedback. And this will give you a certificate of attendance. Thanks so much for watching, and make sure you check back so you can enjoy all the Gold EDU professional learning opportunities.